So, O Seeker is a film about many things. It's about our relationship with science and spirituality, about other ways of healing, and how we process grief and loss on a personal level, but also on a larger scale as a society, as a culture. Um, and I shot the film on 16 millimeter. Some parts of the film are shot on expired 16 millimeter stock, which also does its own thing to the film. You know, colors shift and images change, and I love how out of control that part of working with film is. And it made sense because the film addresses also, you know, what happens in the world beyond this life or in other realms, and made sense to then work with film that had expired and was in this world beyond in a technical sense. That's the film. And there are some parts of the film that are also not filmed, that I have sort of made in a camera-less way, where I've printed things onto film. So I was very interested in also generating images um, the way that this dream-like space demanded, and not so uh, keen on being. I mean, I wasn't very worried about the technically perfect image in this film. So yeah, that's the film. I think you know, working with film as a material changes your relationship to light significantly, but also just generally to nature and your surroundings. Because it is material, it's a physical object. It nature acts upon it in various ways. So it has its own relationship to light. It has its own relationship to the weather, to the climate. If it's very humid, the film catches diseases, or you know. So one has to be very. So it acts. The world acts on the film as it acts on our bodies. So that's a very, you know, lovely thing to explore. And of course, there's this part of working with analog stuff that, or film as a material that you don't immediately, of course, see what you have filmed. You know, you're waiting. It goes to the lab, it gets processed, and then it comes back to you, and then you have an image of what you thought you have shot. And might, of course, it might be extremely accurate, and if you're very good technically, it should be extremely accurate. But there's always a scope for something to happen in the middle, because it passes through many hands, you know, from filming to the person processing it to the person scanning the film. There's a lot of hands that the film passes through, and there's always a scope for something shifting, which I really enjoy. So when I'm shooting with film, I'm not concerned, like I said, about it being technically perfect, but I would like it to carry the energy of you know, the world that is being generated or created in the film. I like leaving those things up to chance, and film lets you do that a little bit. So it's not about the ultra 4K HD precision. It's about that human sort of process of working with the material. Firstly, the reason why it's not very judgmental, actually it is. There are parts of the film that I'm being very direct actually about my thoughts on some things. But yes, I like to be not ultra judgmental, because I don't know. There are a lot of things I don't know. So even in the making of this film, I am asking questions of people. So I actually interviewed an astrophysicist, a wonderful, amazing astrophysicist, who is the scientist character in the film. And I was expecting very scientific answers from him about, you know, the way that we live today, but actually he gave me the most beautiful, philosophical, poetic answers about our relationship to the planets, our relationship to science, the Earth's relationship to the moon. All of these really beautiful things were said. And then when I spoke to alternative healers and practitioners of these other, you know, ways of healing, they gave me very scientific answers to the questions that I was asking. So they were very, I'm not going to comment on whether it is a science or not, but it is rooted in some kind of logic, their practice. I think the playfulness of it, just it comes from who I am, in the sense that how I make sense of the world. I feel like we live in extremely bizarre times. The media that surrounds us and the way that information is disseminated, the kind of information that is disseminated, who controls that information, all of that is they're having the best time. All of that is very bizarre. So for me, humor is a way of underlining the absurdity of these things, or emphasizing the absurdity of things, which is the only way that one can actually um, process it. Because of course, and it comes from being very upset and angry, and feeling like, what the hell is going on around me. But you can't counter that absurdity with, after a point, you can't counter it with logic beyond a point, because it's not being received, I feel. So you counter it with something more absurd, then that sort of draws attention to the absurdity of this thing. So satire is a very interesting tool, a very effective tool historically, to comment on socio-political realities that we live in. Of course, it's very scary also when the humor is not working, or if it's not understood the way that you intended. So it's a scary thing to do. um, but I enjoy it. It's the only way that I can make a comment about it. And I feel that with something like film, um, it is entertainment at the end of the day. You are wanting someone to think about something, but it doesn't all have to be in this like ultra serious tone. I think that uh, sort of making light of the situation, not in a frivolous way, but in a way where we understand that, okay, this is really funny, but okay, there's a truth to it. There's a point being made, and there's something to really think critically about. Then that's okay. Like, that's a balance that I think is I enjoy creating, and I enjoy watching that kind of work also. So yeah.